to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Madam Clerk, I note the presence of a quorum. Do you concur?
I concur with the presence of a quorum.
Okay. And we've received an agenda, and one change I would like to make to our agenda tonight is to add a resolution to appoint, we'll be appointing Ms. Verchot as a Group 1 Director of the GCIC, and that will be added under ordinance number 4. So that would be Resolution 2024-12. Is everyone okay with adding that ordinance?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll change that. And then, approval of the minutes from the previous meeting. We've received a copy of the February 5th, 2024 regular council meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved. Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes. We have two mayoral proclamations. However, I would like to move ahead in the agenda, the appointment of the firefighters this evening. Is everyone okay with changing our agenda for that? So we'll put at the top of the agenda ordinance 2024-06, an ordinance appointing Glendale volunteer firefighters, establishing a 1-year probationary period, and declaring an emergency. Is there a motion for this ordinance?
So moved. Second.
And is there a motion to dispense with the 3 reads?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Chief, could you tell us a little bit about these candidates?
Sure, thank you, Mayor. First, I'll introduce Christine Coolgren to you. Currently, she works for the city of Cincinnati as a 911 dispatcher. Her husband is also a Cincinnati police officer. So, Chief, if you're looking for anybody, I'm sure he'd be happy to join you as well. Yep. She graduated Ohio University in 2005 with a degree in biology. And in her spare time, she enjoys hiking, spending time with her family, and horseback riding. So this is our third member that enjoys the horseback riding life, and so I'm sure she'll fit in well with the rest of them. So candidate number 1, candidate number 2, Marissa Brickley. She's born and raised in Fairborn, Ohio, graduated UC with a degree in psychology, and she just achieved her EMT certification in December, and she's here with her husband Scott and 2 boys, Ethan and Lucas. Our third member tonight is Kimberly Rosenstengel, born and raised in Dayton, attended Wright State University, received her bachelor's degree in criminal justice, and recently made the change from outside the fire service to become a firefighter EMT, has her fire inspector 1, and just graduated the Great Oaks Fire Academy with honors. I had the privilege of teaching her in that course, and also with us tonight is the lead instructor for that academy, who's also here to show his support for her as well. So we're happy to have all the families here with him. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Chief. Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
For ordinance 2024-06, to dispense with the 3 reads, Ms. Masenko.
Aye.
Mr. Basemith.
Aye.
Ms. Baldridge.
Aye.
Ms. Fleury.
Aye.
Ms. Verchot.
Aye.
For ordinance 2024-06, Ms. Masenko.
Aye.
Mr. Basemith. Ms. Baldridge.
Aye.
Ms. Fleury.
Aye.
Ms. Verchot.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, will the candidates please come up front here and we'll swear you in. Right here. All right. So raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name, do hereby swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
That I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge
and I will faithfully and impartially discharge
the duties of volunteer firefighter for the village of Glendale, so help me God.
the duties of volunteer firefighter for the village of Glendale. So help me God.
It's a mouthful. Thank you, and congratulations.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay.
Yep. You guys are good.
That's all you have to do.
No more.
Stick around more. Yeah.
This is a big,
Thank you very much.
Women's History Month.
I know. Look at
Hey,
this.
this is great.
How about it? Okay, going back to the agenda then. We'll read these proclamations. There are 2 of them, and then we'll move on to public comment after that. So, our first proclamation, we'll let everyone get out. Thank you. So our first proclamation is for Women's History Month. Proclamation designating March 2024 as Women's History Month in the village of Glendale. Whereas women have made historic contributions to the growth and strength of the village of Glendale, Ohio, our nation, and the world in countless recorded and unrecorded ways. And whereas women have played and continue to play a critical economic, cultural, and social role in every sphere, applying their skills, talents, and energy to their work in the public sector, private sector, and in their homes. Whereas women have and continue to participate and hold leadership roles in industry, technology, business, law, science, medicine, education, arts, public safety, the armed forces, and numerous other fields. And whereas more than 150 women hold public office countywide, an unprecedented number of mayors, council members, commissioners, trustees, and judges, and whereas women hold the majority of seats on the council of the village of Glendale, the position of clerk and fiscal officer, as well as other appointed positions in the village's various boards and commissions, and whereas women were particularly important in the establishment of early charitable, philanthropic, and cultural institutions in the village of Glendale. And whereas women have been leaders of movements to create a more fair and just nation for all, and have led advances and developments in all aspects of society. And whereas Glendale recognizes and encourages the study, observance, and celebration of the vital role of women in American history, and in particular in Glendale history, and as a gesture of celebration, desires to recognize Women's History Month. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Mayor and Council of the Village of Glendale, Ohio does hereby designate March 2024 to be Women's History Month in the Village of Glendale, Ohio. Be it further proclaimed that the Mayor and the Council of the Village of Glendale call upon the people of the Village of Glendale to observe that designation with appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities. Signed by the Mayor and Council members and our Treasurer and Clerk. Our second proclamation this evening is for our own Glendale Heritage Preservation, and this proclamation reads as follows. A proclamation designating March 15, 2024 as Glendale Heritage Preservation Day and recognizing the 50th anniversary of Glendale Heritage Preservation. Whereas Glendale Heritage Preservation has been a leader in preserving Glendale's historic community for the last 50 years, and whereas Glendale Heritage Preservation defined and successfully listed the historic village on the National Register of Historic Places, and whereas the U.S. Department of the Interior recognized Glendale's historic village as a National Landmark District. And whereas Glendale Heritage Preservation has researched the history of 122 village homes and installed plaques commemorating their construction, and whereas Glendale Heritage Preservation has contributed funding worth $100,000 towards village preservation projects, and whereas Glendale Heritage Preservation actions led to the establishment of the Certified Local Government Ordinance, and whereas Glendale Historic Preservation volunteers renovated the interior of the Village Depot to become the Village History Museum and Archives, and whereas Glendale Heritage Preservation successfully supported the renovation and continued use of Glendale Elementary School on Congress Avenue, and whereas Glendale Heritage Preservation published a photographic history book called The Village of Glendale, 1855 through 2005, for the village's sesquicentennial celebration, and whereas Glendale Heritage Preservation continues to communicate the unique history of the village through newsletter, exhibits, website, and YouTube channel. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Mayor and the Council of Village of Glendale, Ohio does hereby designate March 15, 2024 to be Glendale Heritage Preservation Day, distributed to Glendale. Our Women's History Month will be preserved in our village office.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you for getting these together, David. Okay, on to public input. Does anyone wish to make any public comments?
I do.
Please approach the podium.
Yep.
And state your name and address
Yes.
for the record.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Gary Terrell. I live in 180 East Fountain. And just for full transparency, everybody on council has heard what I'm about ready to say, with the exception of Ms. Verschow, who was also applying for the position of the open council position. And this is what I talked about during my interview. The subject is the out-of-service fire hydrants and lack of transparency and visibility into the residents on when those are broken and when they're going to get fixed. So I know of at least two, one on East Fountain and one on Coral, and there are probably more. I didn't spend time driving around the village looking for them, nor should I have to. So our fire hydrant has been out of service for over a year. It might be more, it might be less, it's hard to tell, because we were actually never notified that it was out of service. I just happened to see it one day when I walked out. And despite reporting it months ago, I have no idea when it will be fixed or if it's even being worked. I think it's a public safety issue as well as a personal property value issue. Specifically on the public safety issue, as many of you know, because we all live in these old wooden homes with balloon frame construction, and it doesn't give me a warm and fuzzy feeling to know that the fire hydrant that's closest to my house within 50 yards has been inoperable for over a year. I don't know if the fire department has an alternative plan to use another hydrant. I assume that they do, but they shouldn't have to be put into a potentially horrific situation if they arrive on scene, hook up to an inoperable fire hydrant, and realize it doesn't work, and then have to move the equipment to an operable fire hydrant. That wastes precious time and seconds, and in that line of work, it could be the difference between life and death. I also don't think that our collective homeowners insurance companies would be wanting to hear that for the people who think on those riders and those insurance policies that they're living near a functional fire hydrant when in fact they don't. So I don't think that that's appropriate for our personal public safety as well as for what we're telling our insurance policy owners. From a property value issue, if people want to move to the village and they're driving around and they see that there's fire hydrants out of service, street lights don't work, the streets are messed up, the roads are messed up, that might be the norm in some communities, maybe some that you drive through every day. But that doesn't have to be the case, and nor should it be the case in Glendale. We need to do better, not because no matter how much signage or flowers or dog parks or anything else that we put out, if we don't have basic public services to reassure our residents and people visiting here, who would want to move to Glendale? So I actually have 4 asks of the village. One is to have posted on the village website in a prominent location, because if it's there now, I couldn't find it, a full listing of those fire hydrants that are out of service, their locations, how long have they been out of service, when will they be corrected, and what's the alternative working fire hydrant in the area that we can be reassured that if something were to happen, that we know that the fire department will know where to go. In addition to that, whether it's for this round or for future situations, I think it's appropriate to have a physical mailing to those homeowners that are near a non-functioning fire hydrant, letting them know the outage, when it will be fixed, and what is that alternative fire hydrant in their neighborhood, rather than to have to just go out and realize that, oh, the fire hydrant doesn't work, and gosh, I hope somebody's working on it. And then as part of that mailing, once it goes back into service, another mailing to those affected homeowners and residents to say, oh, by the way, we actually fixed your fire hydrant.
You have about a minute.
I'm almost done. So I'm asking the council to intervene on this and to at least make the visibility to the village and the residents of what fire hydrants are truly out of service, rather than to just drive around and say, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that was out of service. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Terrell. Is there anyone else that wishes to address council? Okay. Moving on to new business then, and I believe at some point the fire committee may have something that they can add to those or respond to those comments, and then perhaps something further as we build our plan for the village. However, let's move on to ordinances. So, ordinance 2024-07, an ordinance authorizing amendment of the 2024 appropriations of the general fund and declaring an emergency. Mr. Lumsden, could you fill us in on this particular ordinance?
Certainly. Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance 2024-07 would permit the increase of the fire department's general fund capital line $2,800 to allow for the purchase of in-cruiser ticket printers. This was in the 2023 budget, but ultimately was not ordered with the 2023 budget number, was not included in the 2024 budget when it was prepared, but is in front of council this evening to be included and be spent from general fund reserves.
Okay, is there a motion for this ordinance?
So moved. Second.
Okay, is there a motion to dispense with the 3 readings?
So moved. Second.
Okay, is there any discussion?
I'm just curious, how many printers are you getting?
There'll be 4.
4?
And these will be an advantage, Chief, in what way? You had explained a couple of things that were gonna help us from an efficiency standpoint and also
Mostly a cost standpoint.
Okay,
It cost us about $1,200 a year to print citations. This is gonna drastically decrease that. These will be printed out on a heat transfer type of paper and given to the defendant at the scene. It will also knock off a little bit of time on a stop for the officer.
does it, I think, did you say it has the capability to send in that report
We
anywhere it needs to go beyond our own department?
Yeah, we'll be able to transfer that ticket down. If it goes down to Hamilton County, we'll be able to transfer it to Hamilton County. If it goes to Mayor's Court, we'll be able to transfer it to Jenny in the office in Mayor's Court.
Versus the old carbon copy book
Yes.
where you have to mail everything.
We will still have a whatever leftover ticket books we've got in case something crashes at some point. But
Probably smart to hang on to it. Okay.
Thank you.
So, is there a motion? Oh, there
We
is a
have-
motion. So, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
For ordinance 2024-07, to dispense with the 3 reads, Ms. Masenko.
Aye.
Mr. Basemith.
Aye.
Ms. Baldridge.
Aye.
Ms. Fleury.
Aye.
Ms. Rochelle.
Aye.
For ordinance 2024-07, Ms. Masenko.
Aye.
Mr. Basemith.
Aye.
Ms. Baldridge.
Aye.
Ms. Fleury.
Aye.
Ms. Rochelle.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Ordinance 2024-08 is an ordinance authorizing amendment of the 2024 appropriations of the general fund and declaring an emergency. Mr. Lumsden, can you give us some background on this?
Thank you, Mayor. The Glendale Fire Department was awarded a grant from the Ohio State Fire Marshal for the purchase of radio equipment. That grant is a total of $10,000. The radio quote is about $10,280. So ultimately a $300 cost to the village to replace a number of radios for the fire department, being paid for by that state grant.
Okay. Is there a motion for this ordinance?
So moved. Second.
Is there a motion to dispense with 3 reads?
So moved.
Second. Okay, any discussion?
Yeah, to sort of Amy's question. How many radios?
So this would be 2 complete radios.
Got it, okay.
Yep. Yep.
And wonderful that you've received this grant.
Yep. Thank you, Mayor.
Excuse me, is this one that we had discussed in fire committee already, or is this one we didn't know about yet? That
I believe we discussed it in the
Yeah.
fire committee, yeah.
These are going in the cars or the trucks? Where they?
So these particular ones are honestly going to act as spares
Oh,
for the
okay.
ones that were purchased a year and a half ago.
Okay.
So they will remain locked up, and in the case of emergency, if we have to send something out for repair, we can immediately put one into service. So that's where they're going to sit.
Okay.
Yep.
Any other discussion? So Madam Clerk, will you call the roll?
For ordinance 2024-08, to dispense with the 3 reads, Ms. Masenko.
Aye.
Mr. Baseman.
Aye.
Ms. Baldridge.
Aye.
Ms. Fleury.
Aye.
Ms. Rochelle.
Aye.
For ordinance 2024-08, Ms. Masenko.
Aye.
Mr. Baseman.
Aye.
Ms. Baldridge.
Aye.
Ms. Fleury.
Aye.
Ms. Rochelle.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Our next ordinance is ordinance 2024-09, an ordinance authorizing amendment of the 2024 appropriations of the general fund and declaring an emergency. Mr. Lumsden, can you tell us about this one?
Certainly. Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance 2024-09 will increase the general fund public buildings budget to account for an unexpected expenditure this year, the replacement of both furnace and AC units, their combined units, at 38 Village Square. The units were inspected at the beginning of the year, along with all the other villages' public buildings, and it became very apparent to us at that time that we needed to replace them very, very quickly, and we wanted to ensure that they would be installed in time for the tenant to take occupancy of the property, which we acted quickly using the existing public building appropriations. So now the action before council is to effectively rebuild the budget to give us those appropriations to continue operating this year.
Okay. Is there a motion for the ordinance?
So moved. Second.
And is there a motion to dispense with 3 reads?
So moved. Second.
Okay. Discussion.
Quick question, David. When you say rework the budget, we're not increasing the budget, we're just moving things around from...
No, we will be increasing the budget. So a certain amount of money was set aside in the public buildings budget for the year of building maintenance. It did not include, in addition, the $17,000 that was spent out of the existing appropriations. But in order to keep the budget pace and the level of maintenance that the budget allowed, we need to effectively re-add that amount to appropriations so that we're able to spend it towards general maintenance throughout the year.
So does the overall budget for the village go up by $17,000?
Yes.
It will. It will. And David, will this be taken from reserves?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
My initial question was, why didn't we know about this immediately, or why didn't we know about it sooner? The units functioned. What we found, though, was that there was a problem with carbon monoxide. So we had to, as the tenant was fitting out the space, they put in detectors, or they replaced the old detectors. And when we inspected, we also found out that they had a problem in that regard. So we had no choice but to upgrade the system. Tom indicated the system was 15, 17 years old?
It was eventually in the next year or two going to be an action that the village would need to take. Yes.
So it was still functional, and we could have tried to nurse it along, but it became dangerous when it was emitting hazardous fumes.
That raises a question.
Uh-huh.
Is this the only village property that has HVAC systems that might be an issue?
So all of the systems were inspected when this was discovered,
Okay.
and this was the only property that had
Okay.
had any issues. Yeah. Now some of our units are older. Some of our units, might have increased costs, but as far as a potentially hazardous situation, no.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, any more discussion? Okay, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
For ordinance 2024-09, to dispense with the three reads, Ms. Masenko.
Aye.
Mr. Basemuth.
Aye.
Ms. Baldridge.
Aye.
Ms. Fleury.
Aye.
Ms. Rochelle.
Aye.
For ordinance 2024-09, Ms. Masenko.
Aye.
Mr. Basemuth.
Aye.
Ms. Baldridge.
Aye.
Ms. Fleury.
Aye.
Ms. Rochelle.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. So that takes care of our ordinances for this evening. We've added a resolution. I will have to get the language correct on this, but the resolution essentially is related to the appointment of Joan Verschow as a Group 1 Director of the Glendale Community Improvement Corporation. We do this in council because council approves or appoints or both the Group 1 members.
Yes.
Yeah, they pick who from council will be in group 1.
Will be in Group 1. Joan was an at-large member, so I think this is a logical transition to have her go to the Group 1 level. So is there a motion for that appointment?
So moved.
Second.
Second. And for resolution, we need a roll call vote or a voice
Oh, you don't
vote?
even need a second, sorry.
Sure.
A roll call vote? Okay, so we'll take a roll call vote. You'll not vote, I don't think. Madam Clerk, will you?
She can.
Oh, she can vote?
Jeff
Yeah,
got
she
to
doesn't
vote
have
first,
to.
yeah.
Come for
Oh, yeah, that's right. Jeff had to vote first. Very good. So Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll for this?
For resolution 2024-12, Ms. Masenko.
Aye.
Mr. Basemuth.
Aye.
Ms. Baldridge.
Aye.
Ms. Fleury.
Aye.
Ms. Rochelle.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for stepping up.
Happy to help.
Okay. So now we move to reports from the mayor, village administrator, standing committees, and special committees. So for the mayor's report, we have no births to report. Unfortunately, there were 3 deaths, people that most of us know, and one just recently Sunday. So those are William Duffield, or Duff as we all knew him, Charlotte, passed away February 22nd at the age of 90. Snowden Armstrong passed away February 26th at the age of 83. And just Sunday, I spoke with Craig today. Just this past Sunday, Mary Simonson passed March 3rd at the age of 72. So for those 3 souls and their families, can we please have a moment of silence? May they rest in peace.
Amen.
Okay, in other village business, the village gardeners of Glendale, you may have noticed the nice lights that were installed in the center island of our village. They paid for and coordinated the installation of new lights around the footpath and new decorative lights. So we really appreciate them working with that. Whit Sims kind of guided it, and I think it really looks great. So hats off to them. We'd like to welcome, we mentioned our building is now filled, and Edward Jones Financial Advisor's office is functioning and open now at 38 Village Square. Our own residents, Mike and Maggie Bogley, are the proprietors there, so stop in and say hello to them, and if you have some money to invest, they're happy to talk to you. And our First Presbyterian Church of Glendale will hold its pancake breakfast Saturday, March 16th. It's always a wonderful event, so try to stop out and get some pancakes if you're able. Princeton has opened their enrollment for preschool and kindergarten on March the 4th, so that's just today. So if you have preschool age or kindergarten kids, that's the place to enroll them. And finally, do you all remember the Glendale flags we had years ago with the squirrel and all? Okay, so we have a new stock of those. They are $50. They're available in the village office, and go and get a flag. It's a nice way to show your support for Glendale. Finally, some people are aware of this. If you can find a copy of, or if it's online, Best Find Homes is a publication put out by, I believe, Sipsey Klein. They feature Glendale, and it's probably a 6-page article, and it has some wonderful stories about Glendale. We want them to try to promote our village businesses a little bit more if they ever do this again. But really a great article, has some great pictures, so if you can get a copy of that, or if it's available online, take a look. I think you'll be impressed. And that is it for the mayor's report. David, do you have an administrative report?
I do. Thank you, Mayor. So our 2 stormwater projects are making excellent progress. Hedger Albion is getting the final seed and straw this week. Then we will revisit the site in April once the asphalt companies start opening up to patch parts of Albion Avenue that were affected by the work. It went very, very smoothly. Ford Development did a tremendous job, did a good job communicating with residents, and we were able to save the old oak tree in front of Kelly Reason's house, which was kind of an accomplishment there. So thank you to Ford and Kleinger's for their hard work to get that moving. The retention pond project is moving. It's a little bit slower because as they're digging it, it's starting to work. It's filling with water, and they have to wait for it to naturally dissipate before they can continue. So that work is still going on, and I know that the Urban Forestry Board and a few others have met to discuss some planting plans in that area once that's complete. The village, I was just notified this morning, actually received its 28th Tree City USA award and a growth award for 2023 because of the Urban Forestry Board's work on the Arboretum project. So that information is being uploaded to our website right now so folks can walk the village and learn more about the trees. The water main replacement project for a number of locations in the village. We talked about that in the Utilities Committee. We're anticipating going out to bid on that this spring. The design work is nearly complete and should hopefully have bids in contractors' hands by the spring. And part of that, and to address the comments that were made, in the areas where that work is taking place, there will be full hydrant replacement and even additions for new hydrants in those areas where those water mains are being installed. But in addition to that, the Utilities Committee and the Utilities Department dedicates about $40,000 to $50,000 a year towards hydrant replacement, replacing 4 to 6 hydrants per year. Additionally, I believe the hydrants that you had mentioned, Mr. Terrell, are on the list to be replaced this year. So that I understand your communication concerns, and we'll address those. We are taking steps to replace and service hydrants as we come across them. Unfortunately, because of the age of some of the village's water mains, those hydrants are smaller, older, and unfortunately, for some of them, even in the event of an emergency, they wouldn't be as functional as a new hydrant would be. So we're taking steps to address that. I've already met with the fire department and the utilities department to get that taken care of. So more to come on that. And then finally, we are going to be going out to bid for trash and recycling services this year. Very exciting stuff. Those will be going out here in the next few weeks. We anticipate some cost increase, but that, of course, is paid to the village back through the utility bills. But we do anticipate there will be fuel and vehicle expenses, all those sorts of things will be reflected in the new bids. But unless there are questions, I'm happy to.
Can you
Take
say
those.
more about the trash and recycling going out to bid, what that means?
Yes, so the village contracts with, currently with Rumpke, but we put out what the village's services are and what our desired services are to any company that wishes to respond. Rumpke, Republic, Waste Management, to name a few of those. They respond to the village with the cost to provide those services, and then the village selects the lowest and best bidder based on that. Previously, those costs were paid by the village. Back in 2019, the village did vote to move those costs to the utility bill for each individual resident. So effectively, the net to the village is zero. We pay the bill to Rumpke, but then we receive the revenue through utility billing.
When was the last time it went out to bid?
2019. It was a 5-year contract
Okay.
in 2019.
Could we clarify, David, that it is processed through the utility bill? It's not a result of any use of water.
Right. Yes, it is. It appears on the utility bill, but it's not a function of the utility itself.
David, several residents have asked me, why do we have fluorescent paint on several of the street signs on Congress?
Mm-hmm. So that council might remember, or rather some of council might remember, last year ODOT approached the village with several contracts and agreements regarding the maintenance of state routes through the village. One of them was the replacement of signage along state routes. ODOT has started that work, and some of that work is identifying which signs ODOT is responsible for replacing, which is where the pink paint is coming in. So those are just marking signs that ODOT is either determining that they want to replace or will be replaced.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Madam Clerk, will you call for the other reports, please?
Are we having anybody cover finance? No? Okay.
You're correct. I guess we are not.
We
unless
didn't meet,
Did Will? We
Okay,
did
yeah,
not
there was no
meet.
meeting, but I didn't know if he had anything.
We did not meet,
Okay.
but I don't know if he assigned to anyone, and he had a medical situation in the family, which is
Okay.
why it's not here.
Yeah, that's fine.
Mhm.
Fire committee, please.
Mr. Terrell, you'll love this. The fire committee did not meet in February, but we have a meeting scheduled for March 12 at 3:30. The primary element on the agenda, in fact, it might be the only item on the agenda, is a consideration of a plan to repair, upgrade, paint fire hydrants in the village. Mr. Lehrman will speak more to that in a bit, but just wanted you to know, you're spot on, you're right, we are going to fix these, we're going to do this. And the large part of the meeting will be to look at the plan and to vote whether we move it to council for funding or not. It's that close to getting some action, so thank you for your comments. Anyway, that was all I had. Over to you, Chief.
All right, thank you. We have not sent out our monthly report yet. We hope to have that out to council in the next few days. So we're finalizing some details on that. So again, we'll get that out. And then, yes, we have a comprehensive plan that we're going to be working on. If you're available, love to have you attend the meeting. But looking at identifying the hydrants that need to be replaced, and then working with utility and water department and Administrator Lumpson on that. So it's a group effort between water department, the fire department. So if you can attend, that'd be great. But we're going to be repainting, stripping, painting, priming all the fire hydrants that need to be, and then re-identifying those based on their NFPA, National Fire Protection Agency flows, so we understand what the capabilities of that fire hydrant is in front of your residence or your neighbor's.
Do you mind if I ask 2 questions?
I think that's up to council.
Do you have a sense on how many fire hydrants are actually out of service with the rings? Is it 2, is
Go
it
ahead,
6, is it 10?
I don't have that in front of me. I would be happy to have that information prepared and sent to you via email, but we would ultimately need to work with.
We have a list, a comprehensive list of all the fire hydrants and whether they're in service, out of whatever the status of those hydrants is. And I mentioned the water main replacement projects, which it was going to replace 12 out of service hydrants just through that project alone. So the village does have a list of which hydrants are out of service. Unfortunately, though, when it comes to some of them in older areas, the age of those hydrants and the age of those water lines means that even if we do replace it with a new modern hydrant, it's still on a small water main, so it won't have really any effect as far as the ability to get the pressure needed. There are hydrants nearby that will serve in the event of an emergency, but for like a bourbon 2-inch hydrant, which is I always joke call them the little penguins, are the ones that look like this. They're sitting on maybe a 4-inch water main, which is not going to be really much effective when we're dealing with an emergency.
So my second question is, who actually owns fixing those and replacing them? I heard utilities, I heard water, I heard fire department. So who actually has the responsibility?
The utility. The utility.
Okay.
Yep. We work with fire department to make sure that what is purchased and installed and all those things meet their specifications, but they are ultimately a service of the utility department.
Okay. And my third point was just a matter of the whole visibility and transparency. I mean, you have a list. I think it's only appropriate that the people that are impacted by those outages should have been contacted to know that, hey, by the way, the fire hydrant right in front of your house doesn't work. I mean, I shouldn't have to discover that on my own.
I understand.
Understood.
I understand.
Okay.
All right. Okay, anything else from the fire committee?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor.
Laws and claims, please.
Laws and claims did meet February 20th, and we continued the agenda from the last meeting of laws and claims, which was in September of 23, and that had to do with rules of council, and we continue to reevaluate any changes that might be necessary. We intend to meet sometime in March and hopefully have a report back in April. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Police committee, please.
The police, we jumped one, but while we're on police, there is no report except that Will said, make sure the chief understands that Will knows that we need a meeting.
Yes.
So that's the only report from Will.
At least he's on it.
Yeah, what do you have?
Thank you, council, for approving the printers. Also, we had a cruiser in this year's budget. I was finally able to get that cruiser ordered. Initially, we had some problems. The portal was closed on the Ford Explorer, and we weren't able to get it ordered. I have since gone to Jake Sweeney and bought a Dodge Durango Pursuit vehicle from Jake Sweeney's, and it should be in within 30 days, which is a lot sooner than what we were doing before.
Same price?
Less, a lot
That's
less.
even better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
Hopefully it performs.
We hope.
Okay.
It
Thanks,
should.
Chief.
Some other communities you checked with have them.
Yeah, a
and
lot
said
of
they're good.
the communities around us now are going to the Dodge Durango. Not Ford. Chevy is doing away with the Tahoe, so we're not sure what's going to take its place. Ford is getting harder to get, and the price is higher. So most of, I wouldn't say most, there's a good amount of agencies that have gone to the Durango and like what they've got. So that's all I got.
Thanks, Chief.
Great. Thank you. Public buildings and historic preservation.
Are we gonna do Parks and Rec?
I think we skipped Parks and Rec.
I have, oh, it's because it got renamed.
The old order.
So when it got renamed, it went out of order, so I'll
Oh,
fix
okay,
it for
I'm
next
sorry.
month.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
public buildings and historic preservation, gonna meet in April sometime, but we haven't met yet.
Awesome.
Okay.
Now I've got Parks and Recs, which I am moving as I'm sitting here.
We did not meet this month, but as David mentioned, an ad hoc committee has formed to start to talk about the Oak Pond and Greenbelt area, both in terms of short-term priorities and longer-term planning for it. You know, things like as soon as possible getting the correct plants in around the perimeter of the pond before the unwanted ones take off. And then things like thinking about more of an understory canopy of trees long-term to help create a better barrier between, you know, the industry over in Woodlawn and that sort of thing. So they're off to a good start. I did want to ask David, have we had any update on playground?
I got the instruction manual a few weeks ago.
Oh, so you're going to put it together for us?
Yes.
Is this IKEA?
It's IKEA. It's no words, all pictures. No, I have on my list this week actually to follow up with the manufacturer on where we are on the install timeline. But I've not heard that we are not on for a spring installation, which was what originally was discussed.
Okay. My contact did mention that production time was actually very good right now, but installation was moving a little bit slowly.
And I'm sorry, this is for Summit Park.
Summit Park Playground. I did notice the lower parking lot as of a week or two ago had been striped, and the old fencing that had been around the court that was sort of wobbly has been removed, so it's looking better before the playground gets installed.
Quick question, Amy, for all the plannings, all that, will your committee come in front of council to say we need funding to be able to do this and get approval?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure, and I'll have to check with Mike and David on, you know, policy and those sorts of things. There is some discussion of some volunteer or people just contributing enough for the seed that would be needed to purchase seed for the native plants around the edge of the pond. Because what happens is when you have exposed mud, the first things that take off are honeysuckle, Bradford pear, porcelain vine, exactly the things you don't want. So time is of the essence in terms of seeding and overseeding to get the things that should grow around a pond that help keep the water clean, that keep the, you know, minimize geese and that sort of thing. So that's what we're thinking about.
Because we don't expect the contractor to do that. That's a separate.
And that's something that a handful of volunteers could, on a Saturday morning, could just scatter the seed. We just need to order probably to the tune of at least $1,000 or so dollars worth of seed. But it sounds like a few people are willing to contribute to that, so we may not even need to come before council for any money
No,
here.
I'm thinking more of you know, tree plantings and so forth. If you know you needed lots of trees
Yes.
and all that stuff. So.
Yeah, down the road.
Okay.
I think the process would be your ad hoc would go to your Parks and Rec committee or the Streets committee, whichever is appropriate, and from there, a recommendation to council. Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Streets, public improvements, and lights, please.
Oh, that's me.
That's you.
I'm still learning my name. We did not meet. David, again, I wanted to ask, could you refresh me what the tab is on the website to that space where you can go and see the progress on the different, because I couldn't find it the other day.
So if you go to the village's website, on the left-hand side in the middle is a departments tab. I think it says departments.
Okay.
And then it pops out, the first section is village administration. There's a link to village projects. It's on that page.
So it's under departments.
Administration and then village projects.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then those get updated as we get information from the contractor. Obviously, as these projects have kind of developed, there's longer spans of just the same activity, so there might not be as frequent of updates. But this is a pattern that a practice that we're gonna maintain as we kind of continue through, like the water main replacement projects and similar work as well, paving projects, that kind of thing.
The expectation on the pond timeline, is it maybe like within a month or?
The original construction was 6 to 8 weeks. I still think and that was with the beginning in February. I still think we're in that territory. But of course, we are very dependent on weather. So assuming things stay dry, that's more likely. But if we continue to get rain, then it could drag that out slightly. But I haven't heard that we're not on schedule.
And you might want to get close to that. There will be things that will be removed, such as their gravel base to get in and out and things like that. So there's quite a bit of work still to do, and you might want to get close to that so that you can coordinate your timing to get the plantings in.
Yeah.
As far as Hedgerow and Albion, the curbing is in up there. Most of the piping is in. I saw them planting grass seed today in several areas. I think that went extremely well, as you said. And then this new method of communicating with residents, it was mainly geared towards what's our best communication with all the residents being directly affected by that work. And David came up with this idea that he could try to communicate, the contractor could try to communicate, or we could centralize it where the contractor gave the work schedule for the day and any changes that had occurred, and David put that in that link and also made sure all those residents affected were aware of where that link is, so everybody gets updated at the same time. It was fantastic.
And it works like jury duty. You got to check it. We don't put out notifications, that way we don't lose track of people or somebody doesn't get a notification, so it's just one spot.
And I have to say, since it's gone into effect, there was maybe 2 or 3 days after it first started getting used. I've had no further questions.
Me either.
What about you?
Me either.
So well done, Dave.
Yeah, we'll keep that.
Yeah, we'll patent that and sell it to other municipalities.
There you go.
Okay.
Excellent. Utilities, please.
Utilities did not meet in February or since the last meeting, and we will plan to do so in the next 10 working days, that is in March. So that's the summary.
Great, thank you.
Okay, is there a report from the clerk or fiscal officer?
Yes.
Okay.
So last month I talked about the audit. The audit has been confirmed. We are going to have another 1-year audit because of the UAN transition. That's the good news. The bad news is Amos, who has been our primary auditor for the last several audits, has moved on. So he's been doing municipal audits for too long, probably getting too cozy with us. And so we will.
He's good.
So,
he's smart.
Yeah, he's very, very smart and very good. And so we will have a new chief auditor. So we are likely to see different findings than what we would have seen with Amos. So expect some different things from that. The other thing is that we've approached Will about having a finance committee meeting to talk about the reports and the new reports coming out of UAN. How do you maneuver through the bank reconciliations and all that stuff? And we're going to have some little illustrations, and we'll do the interpretive dance during that meeting since it's not on tape. So watch for that. So we've asked Will for that.
Great, thank you. And what about from the treasurer? Do you have a report for us?
Everyone should have a copy of the investment report for February. We're tracking fairly well. Fewer line items on there now, since we don't have Fifth Third on there anymore, so that happened last in January. So if you have any question, let me know.
Can you give us some idea of what our blended rate is currently? I see year-to-date 2024, 47,518. What return on investment does that represent?
Well, again, that's not a good measure for what's going on, because some of the returns are monthly, quarterly, semi, and yearly. So overall, my guess is we're around 4.2%. So.
Okay.
But we still have some investments at 0.6% that I've looked at selling those off at a loss, and it just doesn't make sense right now.
It's a mathematical equation. Yeah. Okay. Thanks for keeping an eye on it. Any questions for the treasurer? Okay. We have David, financial reports, January 2024 financial reports were sent out. Is anyone willing to acknowledge receipt of those reports?
Yes.
Yes?
Received.
Received?
Received.
All in agreement with that, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, anyone did not receive? All right, good. So with that, we can entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
She said.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Okay, we're under now.